It was the year 1958, and the world of Formula One was gearing up for a race to take place in Havana, Cuba. The star of the show was none other than Juan Manuel Fangio, the legendary driver who had already won 5 world championships and was considered to be one of the greatest racers of all time. But little did he know that his trip to Havana would take an unexpected and harrowing turn. Juan Manuel Fangio, who was 46 years old at the time and already a 5-time world champion, was the star attraction of the race. He was driving for the Maserati team and was the favorite to win the race. The qualifying was not done in the traditional sense, but rather by selecting drawing lots, and Fangio was fortunate to take pole position. Then, on the night before the race, word would spread that the world's best racing driver, Juan Manuel Fangio, was missing. He was relaxing in the lobby of the Lincoln Hotel when 2 armed men approached him and forced him into a waiting car. They held him at gunpoint and reached a nearby house where they dropped him off. The Argentine legend had been kidnapped by a group of rebels who wanted to disrupt the Cuban Grand Prix and draw attention to their cause. Fangio was the main attraction of the race, which was organized by Cuban director Fulgencio Batista as a showcase of his regime. The 5-time world champion had won the previous year's race and was favored to repeat his success. The kidnappers took Fangio to the safe house and treated him with respect and admiration. They explained that they did not want to harm him, but used him as a bargaining chip and a propaganda tool. They also apologized for the inconvenience and assured him that he would be released after the race. He even had his own room where they gave him coffee and food so he was as comfortable as possible. Then, it was time for the race. As the personnel and drivers arrived at the track, something was missing. Fangio was missing, and it was unknown where he was. Police officers looked all over the place, put the airport under surveillance, and put many roadblocks. Still, the champ was nowhere to be found, so there was a question on whether the race should go on. Fulgencio Batista insisted the race go on, and at 3 p.m. local time, it was lights out. The Cuban Grand Prix was a chaotic race, being held on February 24, 1958. It was the second edition of the race, which was part of the Formula One Championship. At the beginning of the race, Sterling Moss and other drivers reported oil on the track. This led people to believe that Fidel Castro was behind this to sabotage the race, but it was actually just from a damaged car that passed by earlier. The race was marred by a fatal accident on lap 6, when local driver Armando Garcia Cifuentes lost control of his Ferrari 250 TR and crashed into the crowd, killing 7 spectators and injuring dozens more. Sterling Moss won the race as he completed 50 laps of the 6.4-kilometer circuit in 2 hours, 7 minutes and 51 seconds at an average speed of 150.2 kilometers per hour. It's interesting that maybe Fangio wouldn't be alive if he hadn't been kidnapped. Just a thought. Fangio was freed unharmed the next day after spending 27 hours in captivity. He met with Castro personally and expressed his sympathy for the Cuban people. He later said that he had no hard feelings towards his kidnappers and that he understood their motives. He even became friends with some of them and visited Cuba several times after the revolution. Something to keep in mind is that he never knew the disaster that would ensue Cuba because of this. Fangio's kidnapping was one of the most dramatic episodes in F1 history. It showed the courage and charisma of the driver, who remained calm and dignified throughout his ordeal. It also highlighted the political turmoil and social unrest that plagued Cuba in the late 1950s, and it marked the end of an era for Fangio, who retired from racing later that year, having won more titles than anyone else at the time. It's definitely an interesting story about how a driver so good as Fangio missed a race. If you liked what you saw, please click the like button. Here are other interesting F1 stories. Catch you in the next one. Peace.